In this video, I'm going to teach you how to verify on-target earnings for a high-ticket sales job. So when you are going on these high-ticket sales interviews, first of all, you should be asking them two questions. The first question is, how much money is your business making every month? And the second question is, do you have a consistent booked calendar of scheduled sales calls every single day? So do they have sales calls scheduled every single day? If they do, and they're making good money, that's great. But you want to verify the on-target earnings that they are going to quote you on. So think about any job posting that you ever see. It tells you how much you're going to make, right? Like this role, you're going to make this much money. But this is sales, so they don't really know how much you're going to make. They're just pulling that number out of their ass, and 95% of the time, they're just wrong. However, with numbers, you can get pretty close to figuring out how much money you're actually going to make in a sales role before you start. So I'm going to do setter roles and closer role examples in this video. And if you can get the numbers, the data that I'm going to talk about, you can tell how much you're going to make pretty damn close. It's just math. You will know beforehand. Now, quick story to start the video. I had a guy in my program recently who was working with me and he wanted to get a closer job. So he started on going interviews, things were going well. And then one day he came back to me and he was like, hey, this interview went really well. They said I'm gonna make $15K a month in this role. And I was like, okay, awesome. And he could start right away. But first, why don't we verify those numbers, right? Because I'm always hesitant. And for context, if you join my program, I will send you on these interviews with very specific, targeted, dialed questions to get to the bottom of everything. Like we will know everything before you start and make sure that they aren't bullshitting you is the punchline and that you actually end up making a lot of money. So I sent him back with these questions and he came back to me and he said, well, the product is kind of new. They haven't really sold it yet and they don't really have those numbers yet. And I was like, all right. And this is a red flag, right? If you can't already tell. First of all, what are they doing hiring a salesperson when they haven't even sold this product themselves? And without a proof of concept and a track record of good revenue, like consistently every month, how could the business know what you're going to make? You see what I'm saying? Like these numbers are just coming out of their ass. They're just making them up. But he didn't listen to me. I told him these things and he didn't listen. I advised him, you should not take that job. And he said, well, I had a really good interview and I really like this guy. I really believe in this business, blah, blah, blah. And he wanted to accept the job. And I said, okay, cool. You're going to get screwed. And he took the job. And guess what? He got screwed. He came back like a month later and everything I said was correct. He got screwed, made no money, all because he accepted a job that he should not have accepted. So what's going to happen when you go on these interviews is they are going to tell you about the job and how amazing it is. All right? They're never going to tell you we suck or we're really not that great or we don't always make money or all the bad things that go on. Like they're not going to tell you any of that stuff. All right? They're just going to tell you that they're fucking amazing and you're going to make all this money and you're just like, yeah, all right, you know? So you need to ask questions to get them to give you this information because they're not going to volunteer it. So for the examples, let's start with a setter example. Let's say that it's a fitness coaching program and they are quoting you that you are going to make $6,000 a month as the appointment setter. So for the numbers, they expect you to work 20 days a month. They want you to book 4 calls every single day. So you're scheduling 4 sales calls a day. That comes out to 80 booked calls a month. And the expected close rate of those calls is going to be 20%. That means you are going to end up getting credit for 16 sales because 20% of 80 is 16. Now your commission is 5% as the appointment setter, and the price on this program is $6,000. 16 sales times $6,000 is $96,000. And 5% of 96K is $4,800, $4,800. So you almost made 5K, which isn't bad for setting, and it's close to the on-target earnings that they quoted you, but it is below, like it's $1,000 below. Now this is going to vary because you're probably not going to get all paid in fulls, and there's all these other variables. Are they paying you on cash collected or revenue? These things are very important, but you get the idea. If you know how many days you will work a month, how many calls you are expected to book a day as the setter, you know the expected close rate roughly, and then you factor in the ticket price of the product, and your commission rate, with these numbers, you can calculate, okay, is the number that they told me on the interview total bullshit, or is that about what I'm going to make? Am I going to make legitimate money here? So you can take any claim that an interviewer gives you on what your OTE, your on-target earnings, are going to be, and figure out if it's going to be legitimate or not, so that you don't get screwed. And remember, important thing to remember, this is if you are the only appointment setter, these numbers. If there are multiple appointment setters on the team, which many businesses have, you would want to get the total revenue for the previous month, how many appointment setters they have, and then split that evenly. But you get the idea. And again, important to emphasize is this is not going to be 100% accurate. No shit, dweeb, right? But it will give you a very accurate idea of what you're going to make. The point is to see, because you're going to be going on a lot of these interviews, right? You're not just going to go on one interview and find your dream job. The point is to find out if they're bullshitting you or not, because that is what they're going to do. Or are they being honest about what your on-target earnings will be? This should be one of your main goals on every interview that you go on. If they are being honest, then you will probably be able to make what they are quoting you. Because many businesses are going to do what the business in the story that I told did. They're going to try and hire a setter or a closer before they even need one, because the business owners are lazy and they don't want to do that work. So they're just going to be like, well, I don't really have to pay the salesperson. I'll just make them do all the grunt work that I'm too lazy to do, right? They don't want to, like what a good business owner will do is he wants to do all the grunt work up front and lay the foundation for the business, right? He does everything. That is what you're supposed to do. But what lazy, bad business owners do is they're like, oh, I don't want to do that. I'm fucking lazy. I'll just make this random person do it who I don't have to pay. That's how they think. A business owner in the high-ticket internet space specifically should run the business up until he is so swamped with sales calls that he is taking by himself that he is forced to hire salespeople, right? Like he should have done it like a month ago. That is the businesses where you are going to make all of the money, is when the business owner thinks like that. What he shouldn't do is hire one when he had some great idea last night that he got when he was drunk or something and decided to start this business today, and now you're on an interview with him like 4 days later. But people do this all the time. This is very, very common, especially on social media. Now, let's do a closer role example. And this is if you are the singular closer, right? And you can factor in number of closers later depending on the role. For an example, let's say you are selling an Amazon FBA program and they were telling you your OTE, your on-target earnings, are going to be $15K a month. The program costs $5,000. This business did $80,000 in revenue last month. Now they want you to work 20 days a month and you are expected to take 5 sales calls a day. Your closing percentage is going to be around 20%, and your commission for every sale is 10%. So out of 100 calls, you're going to close about 20 of them, and then you're going to get paid 10% of $5,000, which is going to be $500 for every sale. So you take 20 times 500, and that is 10K. That's what you're going to end up making. Now, that's not bad money at all. I know a ton of people will say, oh, I'll take that money, but it's not the 15K they quoted you, right? And if you're a beginner, like I just said, you're probably thinking, whatever, I'll take the 10K, but that's not the point of the video. The point is to show you how to determine if what they are telling you you're going to make is legitimate or not. Are they lying or not? And you can do all this with numbers and math. And this is also a good way to prove that high ticket closing is legit. When people say it's a scam, or they're like, oh, you'll never make that much, or oh, it's hard to make 10K, they're just idiots. Math tells you this is legit. There is no argument, but people need to have excuses to give themselves as to why they are a total failure. And remember, it's important for you to ask, because I know I've given you lots of questions to ask on these interviews, but it's important to ask how many setters or closers they have on the team, because you will have to divide the monthly revenue by the number of setters or the number of closers that they have on the team. Otherwise, the numbers get skewed. And there's even more specific numbers that you could add in to this to go even deeper into getting the exact picture of what's going on. These are not even all of the numbers or the data. You could do things like show rate and many other factors, but with the ones that I have given you, you will get pretty damn close to knowing how much you're going to be making. This is all you need to figure it out. So for the purpose of you verifying what they are telling you you're going to make, this is a great start. And you can tell pretty much everything you need to know by the numbers that I've given you in this video. And like I say in lots of videos, just look at the information that you have, analyze it, and then just make an informed decision and do something, all right? This is going to help you know if these business owners are lying to you or if they're shooting you straight and they're legit, and it'd be a good place for you to work and make money. And if you just do what I talk about in this video, you just ask a few simple questions on these interviews that no one does this, okay? Everyone I talk to who ends up working with me or I try to help out for free or whatever, they always tell me they're like, I don't ask them anything. I don't ask them any questions. And I'm like, why? Why are you not asking them questions, you know? Like you can avoid a really bad situation and possibly wasting like 2 to 3 months of your time just by asking these very simple questions. And then if you do find out bad information and they're like, oh, they're bullshitting me, you can just move on and put your time into finding an actual legitimate role where you can actually make good money. So if you don't vet these jobs on the interview, you don't ask questions like this, you are just asking for it. That's the end of the video. If you want my help getting a setter role or a closer role, go to the links in the description. Until next time.